could you come up stage? We'll take a comment from the three commentators, and then maybe one or two more questions, and then we go to the end of the day. But basically, what I understand from your reaction to Bernard's presentation, we should not have a complementary currency simply because it's inspired by a conspiracy theory. Is that basically what you're saying?
Or maybe it addresses another question, but I don't see how it addresses the question we're discussing here.
Well, first of all, thank you for all the points of agreement, which is a happy conclusion. There's only one thing which I would say as a clarification on that. What I've been talking about ecosystems is not just a parallel or a metaphor. We're talking of a mathematical, proven, scientific demonstration of what a network stability conditions are for any network independently of what you put in it. So, the example with blackouts in electricity is very valid. And we've had that exactly for the same reason, because engineers have the same push towards efficiency. Okay? The reason for monopoly for a monopoly of conventional money in an economy has been efficiency, because it creates efficiency for price formation and efficiency for exchange. The reason for introducing at the euro level was the same, was increasing the efficiency in the single market. The Milton Friedman's argument in 1955 for getting rid of all the regulations internationally was it would be more efficient. We've been pushing always in the same direction, is my point. Fine. Now, on the 2 points where you say we have disagreement, actually, I don't see the disagreement. Okay, let me just tell you why. Conspiracy theory. I have not talked about the conspiracy theory about the crisis. I have talked about the conspiracy theory about the paradigm of money. i.e., I say in the 19th century, the idea of central banks as an institution to keep a status quo in the monetary paradigm is a conspiracy. Okay? And I can prove it historically. Okay? And we have the evidence for the Federal Reserve and all that stuff, very nicely done. It doesn't matter. I would say it was a logical thing to do. It was a clever thing to do. But that was a conspiracy theory. I have never said, and I'm actually convinced it is not true, that there would be a conspiracy that someone knew that this crisis was there and that provoked it or maneuvered it or something like that. Everybody was surprised, genuinely, I believe, including, Greenspan to begin with. He said it publicly, and lots of other people said it privately. So, no problems there. The conspiracy is not about the crisis. The conspiracy is about the money paradigm. That's what I'm talking about. And that's where the PR aspects and the aspects for, the sophistication of actually dealing with that, instilling that paradigm and maintaining that paradigm is relevant.
Could I ask you to finish up your comments?
Yes, I'm going to address the second point.
And then we wrap up.
The second point is, when you say money has little to do with the crisis, I have to disagree. The reason that the banking system is relevant for money, because they have the monopoly to creating money. That's it. They have legally the monopoly to create money. And the governments are enforcing that by insisting that only that currency created by bank debt money can be accepted in payment of taxes. That is the mechanism. Okay? So, when you say we have a financial crisis or we have a banking crisis, it has nothing to do with money, I'm sorry. The reason that the banks have been saved is because the governments were panicking because they know from the 1930s that when you don't save the banks, everything stops because nobody has money. So there's direct connection. That's my view. That's where I disagree with your disagreements, and where I believe we actually agree.
Well, I don't dispute that the reason for saving the banks is that destroying the banking system is extremely costly because because of dysfunction that.
And my suspicion is that we're going to learn now is that we can't afford it.
I mean, what I don't understand is this monetary solution to a problem which I don't see is the problem we're having. I mean, how would your proposal address the problem we've had?
Okay, I'm going to express to you, not in theory, but in practice. How many of you know about the Weir in Switzerland? Interesting, back to the blind spot. In 1934, 16 business people got together in Zurich and decided to run around the banking system by creating their own currency. 1 weir equals 1 Swiss franc without interest. I sell you something, I have credits, you have debits. And then with my credits, I can buy other things. There are 75,000 businesses in Switzerland who have been using this for the last 75 years. There's a study done by a colleague of mine, Stodder, from Rensselaer University, that demonstrates that the reason for the stability of the Swiss economy is not the chocolate, otherwise Belgium would be better, and it's not the cows or the air or the mountains. It is the existence of that second currency, and let me explain how it works. Whenever there is a recession in Switzerland, the volume of weir and the number of participants goes up. Whenever there is a boom in the Swiss economy, it goes back down again. Why? Very simple. If you give the choice to any Swiss business guy of, I'm going to pay you 1,000 Swiss francs or 1,000 weir, he say, give me the 1,000 Swiss francs. With that, I can go anywhere in the world, I can do everything I want. With my weir, I have to spend them with the 75,000 people. So, however, if the discussion is, I'm not buying from you unless you accept weir, the conversation changes. And that's what happens in recessions. So the Swiss economy is more stable than its neighbors, not because of the Swiss are nicer people.
Okay, but does it mean that the Swiss could have afforded to let UBS go bust?
No.
So
but what I'm saying is that the unemployment level in Switzerland is going to be less high, and the reason, well, the Swiss have another problem, which is a different issue.
You're basically, then it's the response is that you want to insulate some parts of the economy from the meltdown, but the meltdown would still be there.
Now, what I'm saying is, and actually I have said this in Zurich 2 weeks ago, if the Swiss went to deal with their structural issue, they accept the weir in payment of taxes, and you're going to suddenly have 75,000 businesses, you're going to have 750,000 businesses, and it's going to be represent not 2% of the GNP, but 20% of GNP. That's the difference. So, in other words, it is a systemic solution, okay, to automatically do this balancing fact, rather than what we are trying to do, which is forcing it down to banking system so that they can start lending again, which they will start doing 10 years from now when they're out of their hole.
Okay, very interesting discussion, and maybe you should follow up in some papers. I just want to take the reactions from the 3 commentators of us. Jason, Prestige Economics and Texas. Yeah. And then Chris Hughes of Breaking Views, and then Rich Senior editor of Barron's.
Yeah, great. I really found this discussion of and the debate about the dual currencies very interesting. I think I have a couple questions about it. And the first is, what would prevent an arbitrage in the global market of a dual currency? So it doesn't matter if it's issued by a government, whoever issues it, what would prevent a hedge fund from going in? Now that you've told us this about the Swiss franc, the weir, what would prevent a hedge fund from going in, buying up all of the weir, because only 75,000 businesses use them, and then play with the Swiss franc, squeeze everybody out, and then dump the weir back in the market?
Okay.
And then a couple other quick quick questions.
Capital controls.
One more.
Yeah. So the other one would be, what about for dual systems? Is Cuba an example? Because they have both an internal and an external currency that's regulated by the government for use, or the dollar that's used in a lot of other.
Can I ask you to hold off on the answer, Chris? Can you share your reaction with us?
Yeah, I love a good conspiracy theory, so thank you for that. It was a dazzling and radical paper, which I very much enjoyed. What I took from this, I think it's good to hear this distinction between efficiency and stability, and I think that's a very important trade-off. Whether
resilience.
Resilience and efficiency, and whether this is the right conclusion from that contrast, I'm not sure. And also, I think it's great that we're thinking about what we can learn from complex systems. It seems to me that the financial system is often treated as something that's sort of hermetically sealed, and operates in a very sort of scientific way. And clearly, it doesn't. Not just it's internally complex, but it's based in a social system as well, which it interacts with. If I've got some concerns and questions, and just to echo Jean here, I'm not sure whether this is the right, whether a parallel currency would have prevented the financial crisis, and I'm not clear where the confidence comes from in this currency.